open this book.
I'm frightened, Master.
And prepare to sink your teeth into Full Moon's latest entry into Gothic horror. The Vampire Journals. Ted Nicolau, the director of the Subspecies trilogy, returned to Bucharest, Romania to create this new tale of the undead.
Charlie came to me and proposed doing a vampire movie that dealt with a more sophisticated group of vampires, centered around a little gambling casino. And to me, it seemed like an interesting opportunity to kind of expand the Subspecies world into a little bit more urban, sophisticated bunch of vampires. What I wanted to do was keep the basic rules of vampire existence within the same world of the Subspecies movies, and at the same time explore a different branch of vampire who is maybe not quite so ancient and who has managed to find the way to live in the world of mortals. They don't actually kill, they just exist by a kind of decadent blood-drinking ceremonies.
Join me, Dimitri. It's a shame to let her go to waste.
The character played by Jonathan Morris, Ash, the vampire, is descended from Radu, and each vampire has their master, the one who created them, and lives dependent upon them, and at some point kind of gains enough vampire knowledge to live on their own.
It was renovated in the 18th century by my predecessor and master, Radu of Transylvania.
And so this vampire, Ash, at some point hundreds of years ago was the disciple of Radu, and now has managed to break off and live on his own.
You are a stranger here. I am master of this city. At midnight tonight, walk through my door in peace.
We read a lot of actors for each of the parts. We read a lot of actors for Zachary, and we were looking for somebody who had carried with them this kind of sense of doom and was kind of beautiful to look at, but also had a vibe to them that they had an ancient history that's very unhappy. We were really lucky when we found David Gunn. Suddenly it all just came together, and he kind of captured the feeling of this character better than anybody that we had seen. It also turned out very lucky for us. He had stage combat experience and a lot of classical training that was good because his dialogue had a certain kind of archaic quality to it.
I come from many countries.
Oh, really? How's that?
I travel the world.
Doing what?
Sort of personal quest.
David and I knew each other before this film, and he was in my acting class. And if you know David, people are a bit afraid to get close to him, and it's not because he's unfriendly, it's just he has a facade. So I was always afraid to talk to him. But it was odd that we got cast in this. I got to know him, and he's probably the friendliest guy you could ever meet, very open, very honest, and very normal. But it's funny how nobody that I know in my circle thinks he's normal at all. And they think he's more like the vampire that he plays in this movie. The guy has the strangest diet I mean, he basically lived on bread and Diet Coke while we were there, so maybe he really is a vampire, I don't know.
Our lives are intertwined, Zachary. Drink blood with me. You heard the prophecy. It is I who will prevail.
For the character of Ash, we saw a lot of people here in Los Angeles and never quite found anybody who managed to have the qualities of cruelty, sophistication, ancient history, and intelligence that kind of blended together in a very smooth, decadent, and dead way. And so I went to London and saw about another 50 actors there for the part. And when Jonathan Morris walked in and read for me the first time, it was just immediately, this guy has everything we're looking for.
I don't know if it's just with British actors, but it seems like they all can act. He's just a wonderful actor. He helped me with my stunts. He helped me with any questions I had, acting questions. He was wonderful in that way, and a funny guy. He's like a comedian. He's very funny, so he kept us laughing all the time.
Alexander, remove your head from the bar and put on some evening clothes.
He kind of brought the cast together in a way that he was a little older and a little more experienced on stage, and everybody kind of looked to him for some advice and guidance, and he managed to bring all of that to this character and did a wonderful job, I think.
There is no one to hear you. No hope of rescue. No possibility of escape.
First, and it's an interesting story because we auditioned a lot of actresses for that part. And at one point, Bob and Perry, our casting directors, brought in Kirsten just as an actress to help us in the readings to read opposite some of the guys that we were bringing in for the vampires. So Kirsten was with us for 2 or 3 days reading opposite these vampires. And with each vampire that was auditioning for Ash, he would play these incredibly violent, incredibly kind of torturous scenes with her, and some of the actors would get a little carried away, and Kirsten managed to keep up with them every step of the way and gave us something different in every rehearsal. And even the guys that kind of, you know, got a little physical with her, she stayed in character. And at one point I just kind of looked over at her and went, you know, you are so good, maybe you should audition for this part and come in and read for the callbacks. And she did, and she was great, and she's got a real quality about her that's very ethereal and also very delicate, which was necessary for her character.
Please, let me go.
Your apprenticeship has just begun.
What have you done to me?
I've initiated you into the mysteries.
It's funny, when I told people I was doing this movie, I found that there was a lot of interest in that area. People were fascinated by the fact that I was doing a vampire movie. I haven't done any specific research on vampires, and I really didn't do a lot for the movie. But since she was just going to turn into one, and you could see her changing throughout the movie, I kind of just went with it.
Working on this film was like my 7th collaboration with Adolfo Bartoli, the director of photography, and we spent a lot of time discussing a new kind of light that he would create for these vampires, a new way of lighting them that was a little bit classical in the way that he likes to work, but also kind of pushed the boundaries of where the light comes from and how the light plays on the surfaces of people. And also then we found some colors that Adolfo kind of felt were vampire colors, and there's a lot of gold and yellow light and very little kind of standard blue night light. And so I think the look of this film has the look of an old painting. I think in a way we perfected some of the things I tried to do in the subspecies films. Some of the shadow work maybe is a little better, maybe some of the shadow work in the first subspecies films turned out a little bit better. But I think something I tried to do in subspecies that didn't really work because computer technology hadn't quite evolved to that point was the feeling that when a vampire sleeps, his face kind of decays into kind of the way it would be given the number of years that it's been since he was mortal. And we tried to do it in subspecies using lap dissolves, kind of like the old werewolf movies, and it didn't work and ended up on the cutting room floor. In this film, we were able to utilize a computer and do it a few times for Ash when he falls into vampire sleep.
I would find myself, when I knew they were going to do any sort of special effect, I would just stand there and watch them to see how they would chop somebody's head off, and it was just very odd, very strange. But my experience with the special effects probably was the blood in the mouth and what it tasted like. It tasted a lot like alcohol. I think there was some vodka in it, which wasn't a problem, but that was probably my experience firsthand with it, was just, you know, the blood. But watching the other stuff was really amazing.
There. I think that's adequately disgusting. Alas. Oh, Yorick. Ow, please.
I would love to make a Subspecies 4 because I think one of the greatest problems with number 3 was it left you with kind of this open-ended conclusion that was, we were expecting we were going to make a Subspecies 4 at the time. So I wrote vampire journals with the idea that these vampires all being within the same family, it is perfectly logical that Radu could decide to come down from Transylvania to reclaim the underground fortress that has been taken over by Ash, and at the same time the vampires from Subspecies could end up in Bucharest again on their way to their escape. I would hope very much that we could somehow